Good morning and welcome to Brewing 3D. Today I'm going to make a hoppy pale ale with almost 15 kilos of malt bill, including 1.5 kilos of flaked oats. And I think I will have to use some rice hulls as well to not make it a real disaster, and hopefully it will not be a grain to pain video, but you never know. So tag along and let's see how it goes. All done, ready to go. One bucket becomes a little bit more than one. So let's see what it looks like. Yeah, should be good. Not forgetting to take the hops out of the freezer. That's a good idea. So we should have one raw, cow. There's one more. Right. Then it's time to start mashing in. All the temps are up. I have a mash temp of 65. The strike temp is right now at 69. So I hope that's fine, otherwise we'll adapt for it. Change the heater control to mash. Good. First step is I will lower down this basket. Like so. There, now I have these just hanging on the hoist itself. Next step is I will take this one and put this one on. Just a tiny layer of silicone grease. Then I will just mount this one like so, and then I will actually fill up the malt basket, and then when everything is full I will lower it slowly down so that everything gets wet from the bottom up. I found that to be really good. First time I did it, I didn't have any issues whatsoever with, let's say, clumps or anything like that within the grain. So let's try that. Oh, almost forgot. Before I start adding it, I will add some rice shells in the first layer as well. There, I think that's fine. Spread that out evenly along the bottom. There. And the reason I'm doing this slowly is not to get the whole brewery filled with dust. That's my plan at least. So what you see me doing now is really optional. That is, if you want, you can just go for it and dump it in. Maybe I can pour in the rest. So there we have it. This is like 13.5 kilos of pale ale and caramel malt. Then I just even it out. Then I will add another layer of rice shells before I add the flaked oats. There, I think we have it. Maybe a little bit too much, but okay, even that out. Okay, I'll raise that one when it gets a little bit wet. See if I can do this without making a mess. Yep. Okay, everything's in. Again, I'll just even it out, mix it just a little bit with the rice hulls. Then I will also stir this once it's wet and nice, so it'll work fine. Okay. Wash my hands a little bit. Next step now is to lower this one. And make sure to push this one down as you go. Then the water will force its way from the bottom and up, and the grains will be quite evenly wet. Make sure not to overflow. Great. I'll pause that there. See if I have the strength to get this one up. Yeah, I think that's about right. And I'll let it rest there for a while before I lower it all the way. Yeah, I think I have the room to do that now. Yeah, there we have everything in. Then I'll release this one. Get it out of the way. Okay, great. So the idea now is to let this, give it some time for the water to come from underneath and up through the malt bed. Then after that I'll give it a gentle stir, not too much, you don't need that when you do it like this. And then I'll give it a mash rest for about 20 minutes to get up to temp. I think I can use this one now, or I will wait with that, put that in once I've stirred. Okay, great. If I look here now, I can see starting to get wet. Yeah, 7-8 centimeters down. I'll give it some more time to for the water to get up. Now it's been like 5 minutes. Let's give it a gentle stir and see what it looks like. Yeah, breaks up really easily. So let's see if we end up with a stuck mash or not. That's always the risk when adding flaked products, like oats in this case. Because it swells up just like porridge. Now I used oats without the husk on it. You can also use flaked oats with the husk, but I try to mitigate that by adding the rice shells. Let's see if that works. It feels nice at least. And again, with this method of letting the water coming from the bottom and up, you shouldn't get many, let's say, dough balls within the mash. And now when I added the rice hulls and everything like that, I don't want to upset the bed too much, so I stir it quite gently. And hopefully that is everything it takes. Now it feels like it has the right consistency and still being able to have a good flow, I hope. That's the whole idea, at least. Yeah, I think I'm happy with that. So I think I'll leave it there. And then I will put in this thing. I think you can see it now. It's the it's a temperature probe that you put inside the mash to get the inside mash temperature. So I hook it on like that, and then on the screen here, not easy for you to see now, but then you can change, and you can get the temperature within the mash. And right now in the center it is 60.5, so it's slowly getting up. So I will give it the mash rest now of about 20 minutes to allow for the temperatures to get up before I kick in the recirculation. Right now I'm also circulating the water outside the malt bed all the time to get a more even distribution. It's already up to 62 degrees now in the middle, but let's give it 15 minutes more, and then I'll know when it's time. Okay Google, sätt en timer på 15 minuter.
15 minuter nu börjar den.
So that was Swedish, for those of you that wonders, for me to tell the small Google Home speaker I have here to set a timer for 15 minutes. Good. Okay, I will also add all the salts, so I should have 13 grams of gypsum, 13.7 to be exact. 14, that's fine. Then I will add the other ones, and then I will mix this one with a little bit of water, and then I will add that to the mash. Okay, while we wait, I will attach this mash circulation manifold. So it comes with a rubber piece or silicone piece. So I just pulled up this one a little bit to make it easier. Hold that one there. I'll put that one on first. So then, first of all, let's add some more silicone grease on that to make it easier to put it in, as they say. There we have it. Then I will actually start with this one. Yep. So then there we have it. And I will attach this one like that, and then you there we have it. And then you can have a tri-clamp on top here, just to make sure it doesn't move when it gets really hot. I'll just put it on very loosely like that. Okay, then it's prepared. 20 minutes have not passed yet, so I'll give it a little bit more weight. Right, so the 20 minutes have passed. So it's time to start circulating through the mash bed. Just take a look first on the screen right here. You can see it's the temperature for the mash now is 62.2, and this is the, here you can toggle between timer mode, return temp. That is the temperature coming back from the chiller circuit. So right now I'm not circulating through the chiller, and that's why you see a very low return temp. This is the mash temp. That's the probe I just showed you before that is inside the mash. And then going back to timer mode. And up here you can switch between tank temperature. Right now it's 68.4, which is great, because as soon as I start circulating through the mash, it will, let's say, meet some kind of equilibrium here, and the mash will stay at 65, and the tank will be at 65, everything will be 65, which is great. So let's start that. I still have the pump, let's say at 100%, heater control in mash mode, meaning that then you can set that it will never exceed 50% power to the heating elements, and then you will avoid burning the elements with the sugar content in the wort eventually. So that is also very, very good. Okay, but then to start the circulation, so I have the pump full on. Down here we have the valve in different positions. So right now it's down, meaning it pumps everything out back into, let's say, a whirlpool right now. But if I start by moving this one counterclockwise a little bit, it will start sending liquid up the center post and into the, let's say, the circulation manifold. So if you look here now, if I just start moving it very slightly, there you see it starts. And then you can actually regulate how much comes up just by turning that valve. Genius. Really like it. Then you need to take care to see that it doesn't overflow. Of course you have the overflow pipe, but that's not really where you want the, let's say, the liquid to go. You want it really to circulate through the mash and not taking the eject exit way out straight down into the bucket. But it's a good thing to have. Makes you a little bit more comfortable if you need to leave or something like that. And the mash pad is looking really good. No tendencies to get stuck, at least not yet. Let's see what happens later on. I also pushed the timer previously for the 70-minute mash, total mash. First step. So I use BrewFather to tell me when to do it. So I run the B80 in manual mode. I don't use the recipe mode as of yet. I like to have manual control, but that may be just me. There, I also prepared the water additions for the Sparge water. So I'll try to add that in as well. There, get everything. Also to be adjusted with some lactic acid. Then coming up to the Sparge and eventually the boil. But I will just show you what I will add. So starting boil, I will add 75 grams of this Rakau hop. So that will be in there for the full 60 minutes. Then I will add 200 grams of Loral hops, but that is at the hop stand, meaning that after you have done, let's say, the boil, you cool it down to 74 degrees. Or 75, I think it was 74 degrees I put the top stand. And then you leave it there for, I think in this case, I think it was 20 minutes. I need to double check. And after that is done, I continue the whirlpool and then I will cool everything down to pitch temp over to the fermenter. But we're not there yet, I was just telling you in advance. So right now, looking at the display, the target temperature is 65. Temperature in the tank is 64.9 and the temperature within the mash is 65.3. So I think that is spot on to be quite fair, and I think we have 46 minutes left of the first step in the mash. After that I will raise the temperature to 72 degrees, have it there for another 15 minutes before I mash out. I think that's 78 degrees for 10 minutes. And then we're ready to go to boil, but stay tuned. While we wait, I can show you a little bit of where I produce most of my 3D printed parts. I mean, the channel is called Brewing 3D, and that's why reason for that is why I really like brewing and I really like designing stuff and 3D printing them. So what I have in here is actually a repurposed sauna that I have pulled out everything, put in new electricity, everything. So on the top here I have 4 different machines running different materials, stuff like that. Down here at the bottom I have two Bamboo Lab X1Cs that can run multiple materials and multiple colors within the same print, which is really great. This room is both temperature and humidity controlled, so it gives the best let's say opportunity for the prints to come out as good as they can. So I just wanted to give you a brief overview of what it looks like. So this machine that has this funny looking thing on top is a dryer primarily for TPU, flexible materials, that needs to be dried while you print. Now the first 70 minutes has passed. Everything looks really great. There's a good flow through the malt bed, so I'm happy with that, despite all the flaked oats. On the screen now we see that it's locked on 65 in the mash, and the next step now is going up to 72. So then I just tap this one, type in 72, and due to that it's in mash mode, I have set it so that it will reduce the power output to 50% on the heating elements, which will prevent any kind of burn, sugar burn on the elements, while I have the pump still at 100% that flows and circulates outside. That also helps with that. So let's wait for that one to reach 72 and start a timer for an additional 15 minutes. Down here I have prepared what comes next once we have done the next mash step, and then the sparging after that, or the mash out and sparging. So that is the 75 grams of Rakau hops, and I also put the little bottle of antifoam. I will just have a drop or two in the wort before it starts boiling to prevent any boil over as such. I just wanted to show you this as well, which I really think is fun. Look at that clear wort when it's circulating through the bed, and it gets super clear. What you do need is really a personalized mat when you get into your brewery. So played around with the laser a little bit last night, and easy enough. Just buy a standard mat and then put some graphics on it. I will also make some preparations and attach the Sparge water heater to this inlet here, so then I can use the built-in pump to sparge very slowly once we get to that stage. Okay, I hope you can see. And really make sure that the valve is in the correct position. So right now it's pointing in the other direction, meaning that this port is not it's closed off. Otherwise it can be really hot. Let's take a mash pH reading as well. So first I'll take some of the liquid and I will wet the probe with it. And I will take this one, move it over. Let's see what we have. Yeah, 546. I'm happy with that. Somewhere in between 5.3 to 5.6 is it's adequate. So that's great. With just a few more minutes before we're done with all the 3 mash steps, I will start by preparing the sparge water. And the idea now is to prime this hose a little bit. And it's currently at 78.9. So if I just open up this one, and then down here I will just pull this pressure release valve and release some, so we get rid of most of the air. So there, now that line is primed. Then I will close this one back until we start it. And we're now at the final mash out step at 78 degrees with just a few minutes left. Then we're all done with the 3 mash steps. So then I will shut off the heat. I will also shut off the pump for now. I will remove the mash temperature probe. And put that back in its place. Great. And then the next step is really to start using this hoist again. Okay, all secured and locked in. So the idea now is to bring up the malt basket, put it on its latches, and then we can start the sparging from the sparge water tank through the pump only. Make sure not to circulate some of the sparge water because we want everything to go through the mash. So the first order of business is to raise this one up, and then everything will follow. I will raise it slowly. Keep it there for just a few seconds so the bed will set a little bit. I want it to set slowly as well so it doesn't form a thick cake immediately. Now I can also adjust this one and push it down a little bit so it's closer to the bed when we start sparging. Okay, I'll raise it some more. Sorry for the noise. Yeah. And there all 3 of the latches are out. Then I would just lower it back down. There we have it. Lower this one a little bit more. Yeah. Then we will start with a very low pump level. And I will also then turn this valve so that it only takes water from the sparge water tank. And then I will open this one up. And then we'll fire the pump. I also almost forgot, I need to shift the valve so we only get the water up through here and not in the rest of the system. because we want all the water to go through the bed. Here we have it. And now just through gravity, you see that it's starting to, I haven't even started the pump. I will kick off the pump a little bit. Yep. And now we're sparging. And for this recipe, I aim to have a pre-boil volume after all the sparging is done, 75 liters. So I need to double check that in the back. I have a few extra liters in the tank, so I might need to stop it a little bit prematurely. So bringing up the pump a little bit so we get a waterbed sparges. And this one can be turned a little bit. I don't have any problems whatsoever with the stuck mash, at least. I was really worried about that in the beginning with a lot of flaked oats. Yeah, my plan to have the oats on top with a lot of rice hulls, I think really paid off. So now we have a good sparge going with a nice level. But here I also now need to be careful of the volume. We're currently at 54 liters and we should be up to 75, so we still have a long way to go. But if I can keep this pace, I'm quite happy. Maybe lower it a little bit more. So the idea now, if I haven't been clear, but all the hot liquor or hot water that we have inside the sparge water tank will go through the internal pump, up through the middle and out through the circulation manifold. So all the water in there will filtrate down through the mash bed to get to grab all the remaining sugars and to really get hold of as much sugar as possible. That's the whole idea. And according to the recipe, as I said, we should be up to 75 liters when the sparge is done. Now it's starting to get hot in here, I can tell you that. We're getting close to the 75 liter mark. I brought in this trough, whatever it is, for mixing concrete, I think it is for. But it makes a great, let's say, transfer basket or transfer trough for the malt basket. Just 1 liter to go. We'll start raising this one. Let's give it 1 more minute. So the idea then, when I'm happy with the sparging, I will just lift this up over the edge and then slide it out into that black trough down there. Yeah, I think we're actually done, including the volume in the cooler as well. So then I will just raise this one up above the edge. And then my plan is to lean that on top there. Gently slide it over. Super easy. Put this one in the bottom. And then gently lower it down. I didn't see that too good, but yeah, now it's done. Close this one up. So now we are at 74 liters, but that's fine. We have a couple of liters as well in the cooler. So the idea now is to start heating this up. Then I can start the pump again to make sure we have a whirlpool going on. Yeah, there I can clearly see that it's starting to whirlpool. Then I can also go into manual mode and set the heat to 50%, maybe 60, to start heating it up to a boil. And here I don't want to go too high, because if you do that you risk again scorching the heating elements. And the reason I waited to put them on is really to get the sparge done, so I can get the whirlpool going and then start the heat to heat it up. So there we have everything going. I'll put on the lid, and then it's just a waiting game. Before the boil starts, we're now up at 81 degrees. I will mount the steam hat that's in behind me right now, but I will show you how it works. Put it on the side. And the steam hat is mounted on top like this. And it gets clamped on. There's also a small opening here where you can put hops or whirl flock or whatever you need to put in. On top here we will also mount this, which is the steam condenser, but of course before I get that I need to get hold of a bigger clamp. Okay. Always a little bit fiddly to get this on, especially when the camera is running. Okay, there we have it. And what this thing does, the steam condenser, is that all the steam goes out through this one, and then there is a small nozzle in here where I will add this cold water hose. And it will create a very fine cold mist, and it will condense the boil down into this hose and down the drain. So my brewery won't be so incredibly damp, which is, I almost said it again, which is just, it's good. It's not really good this time. Okay, let's take a pre-boil gravity reading. So here I filtered out some of the wort. We don't need much. Take it up with a syringe like this. That's all we need. Switch it to the easy dance. Just push a few milliliters through to fill it up. We first should start it and then click start measurement. So we're spot on at 1050. I think the target was 1051, but I think that is close enough. So I'm really happy with that. Really, again, I'll have to get better at that. We're soon coming up to the boil. It's a little bit left. We're currently at 93 degrees in the tank. But I would like to, so I don't forget it, to add a few drops of anti-foam to prevent any, let's say, hot break and the proteins bubbling up, and you get to clean a lot if you do that. So I'll just add a few drops of this. That's good. And also at the same time I will add some, in this case, Protafloc or Whirlfloc or whatever you use. Just a teaspoon in there. And I'll wait for the actual boil to start before I add any hops. I'm still running the pump at 100%. When you start coming up to 98, 99, you will hear the pump start cavitating because it will start to be air trapped inside, boiling water. And then you can still run the pump. Once you get up to a boil, you don't need to run the pump. But you should then lower it a little bit so you don't run on 100%. And then when all that's said and done, when the boil starts, I will chuck these in and they will be through the entire boil, 60 minutes. Same time I will turn on the cold water here so that the condensation starts. And then I will run it like that. And I will probably have the manual heater control at somewhere around 40%, I think. That will have a nice, steady, rolling boil. So, yeah, I'll tune back to you once the boil is complete. Okay, almost forgot. Before I start the boil, I need to add another thing inside, which is this one. It's called the Turbinator. It's something that you drop down in the bottom of the boil kettle like this. And then when you have the whirlpool going and you added your hops and everything, it will collect them in the center. And you transfer your wort from this side of the kettle down, and then probably, or hopefully, a lot of the trub will be stuck inside here and not follow to your fermentation tank. Let's see if I can. Yeah, already hot. Hot, 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 hot. This is gonna be, this is where the pain part comes in, I think. Let's see if I will burn myself or not. Ooh. Can I hold that with one hand to the side? Take this one, slide it under, maybe, yeah, on top of that, and let it drop. Wow. I managed without too much pain. That was the most exciting still, but I haven't burned myself, which is always a good thing. So Don't forget the Turbinator. Okay, the boil just started at 99.9 degrees. I think I'll lower this one down to 50 to start with. So let's check what it looks like. It's not easy to see anything, but yeah, there is a good rolling boil. And I also started or turned on the tap for the condenser. So the first step we're doing now is to take our 60-minute hop addition. So I'll pop the lid again. Wow, what a smell. Yeah, no, we're all good. I'm always curious if it will, because it can trigger really a boil over when you add the hops. So you always need to be a little bit careful. But it went okay this time. So now I seal it up. Keep it at 50, maybe I'll lower it to 40. Now we're spot on at 100 degrees. And keep it there for 1 hour. 10 minutes now before the end of the boil. I connect the transfer hose and circulate wort through the transfer hose to the fermenter, as well as through the chiller to sterilize everything. So then I just wait for it to come back up to 100%, give it a few more or 100 degrees, give it a few more minutes, and then cool it down back to 74 for the hop stand with the 200 grams of Loral hops. Yeah, there we are. We reached the end of the 1 hour boil. So then I'll turn off the heat, turn up the pump a little bit. I will turn off the steam condenser and turn on the chiller. So it's the blue hose you see here that goes straight into the drain. Now we see the return temperature. So it's 93 out and right now 59. We can also lower the temperature a little bit to get it more efficient. Then it's time for the 20-minute hop stand at 74 degrees. So the tank is now down to a stable 74.4 degrees, which is perfectly fine. So I'll just open these two 100-gram packets. So I'll temporarily just shut off the pump to let them moisturize a little bit so that we don't get any big pieces into the pump. So I just add these two bags. What a smell. And then we'll keep it there for 74 degrees for 20 minutes before starting to rapidly cooling it down to pitch temp to the fermenter. Okay, so we're down at pitching temp.
It's roughly at about 21-22 degrees. I'll actually bring it down to 16, but I will let the glycol chiller and cool it down in the fermenter. So everything is hooked up. I will just turn some valves, then instead of going into a whirlpool, it will go into the fermenter. Now double checking is a good time to make sure everything is tight and shut. Okay. Okay, it's filling up. Slowly but surely. Transfer is complete. So the last little trick is to push everything out of the hoses as best as I can. So therefore I attached a small ball lock in the same place as where I put the Sparge water heater previously on the B80. And then I will just use CO2 to push out the remaining stuff. Done. Saved a few more liters. Before I pitch the yeast, I will wait for it to go down by the help of the glycol chiller. But first things first, I will put in the tilt. In this case, the Tilt Pro hydrometer. The Pro is really that it has a much stronger signal, so it can send Bluetooth through the steel tank. I think the normal or the original tilts weren't that good. I think the Tilt Pro and the Tilt Pro Mini is suitable for metal tanks. So I'll drop this one in. And then I will start getting readings on the iPad, and later on I will connect it to this batch in Brewfather to get all the nice graphs of the fermentation process. But for now, waiting for the wort to cool down, I will just put on the top lid so that we don't get some debris or stuff like that in. It's really heavy. I mean, this piece, I don't know, it's like 5-6 kilos maybe, at least. So I'll just put it on there, and then I'll wait for the temperature to come down. Now the temperature is 22.6 according to the Inkbird. So I've started the glycol chiller to cool it down quite quick, because I would like to pitch this yeast. And the yeast I'm using is Fermo Ale AY4. So I will pitch this yeast at 16 degrees, keep it there for a couple of days, and then bump it up towards 20 in the end. And at the same time then I will shut off the all the valves and let the pressure rise up to about 1 bar with the spunding valve. So it gets naturally carbonated and a cleaner taste. Yeah, so that's the next step. So I will show you the last pitch as well, but I will wait a little while for that. I will start cleaning this one meanwhile. Let's check the original gravity that we have now after the boil is complete. So it is 1051. The tilt inside the tank says 1052.5. But I'll go with the easy dense value. So we're a couple of points short of the target, but that is really okay. This is also what it looks like after the transfer is finished. So this is the purpose of the Turbinator, is to capture the hops in the middle and allow for more clear wort to be transferred to the fermenter. Okay, we've come to the point where it's time to pitch the yeast. So the first thing before pitching the yeast is to oxygenate the wort. So I think I'll have it at 1 or 2. And this one is also star sand before I put it in. Then I'll put the flow meter at 1 liter per minute. And we'll keep it there for, in this case, 2 minutes. And when it comes to either if you have CO2 or if you have oxygen, remove them with pressure on and fast. Don't reduce the pressure first, then you might have some backflow into the connector and you don't want that. Done. Then I'll just use some star sand to make it ready for next time. Start pitching the yeast. Scissors and star sand. Dip the bags as well. I'll put in 8 bags. Then it's approximately 1 gram of dry yeast per liter. Put star sand again on this big lid. And this one, also make sure that it's on right, because this gasket has a lip on it that should be outside here. Okay, all done. I put the Erlenmeyer flask closer now when it's done, and then we'll just hope for it to start ferment. Thanks a lot for hanging with me for this day. It's been a long one with all the cleaning ongoing and everything like that. I still have some time to fix everything, but until next time, take care. Bye-bye.